Alright, we are live.
Sir.
Bakit?
Sir.
Nag-comment na ba si Bruce?
Yeah, okay.
Hindi pa tayo live
Yeah.
hanggat di nagko-comment si Bruce Lim.
You should be here any minute.
Yeah.
So.
Any second now.
Hindi, wala pa. Pinapantayan ko eh. Nananawagan po kami. Nasaan po si kaibigang Bruce? Ayun! Nandyan! Okay, we're on.
Hey, Bruce. Ayun.
What up, Bruce?
So we are now online. Kasi
Natakot kami, Bruce, ba kung ano nangyari sa'yo?
Actually, nga.
This whole
If
time.
you're not there.
Yeah. Your watch is like 30 seconds a little slow. Hey, good evening, Glendale.
What up,
Glendale, hello.
Talking about the
Glendale na
weekend
nag-face
wrestling.
reveal.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. That picture you sent. Yes, hello.
Oo. Alam na natin yung itsura ni Glendale. At eto ba, I just want to say na if we see you at wrestling events and we haven't met like before but we've interacted online, sana magpakilala naman tayo sa isa't isa. Right? Like, kasi ako socially awkward ako as a person eh. So, parang pag gano'n, pag medyo feeling close tayo pero we haven't like met in person, I'll be like, have I met you before? Am I supposed to know who I'm talking to?
Yeah. I mean, like, you can do that. You just don't expect that I'll know who you are. Like if you're gonna find it weird that I don't mention your name or anything. Sorry na lang kasi di ka nagpakilala eh.
Oh, meron gano'n nung Sunday after the show.
Yeah.
Couple of instances na parang okay, alam mo yung hindi agad nag-register na siya pala si so and so.
Yeah, you know. Hello, Ina.
Hello, Ina.
Who has found the truth she has been seeking.
Nakita mo na pala ang liwanag.
Yeah, Glendale. Like, if you don't introduce who you are, like, we're never gonna know who you are.
Yeah.
We're just gonna say, oh, that guy who is Chinito.
Oh, like yung mga random descriptor na generic, di ba?
Oh.
Ayaw naman namin maging bastos.
See, Bruce, when I formally met him nung watch party ng WrestleMania, he said he's Bruce Lim. So that, yun ang tularan niyo mga bata.
Yep.
Oh, yan ang GMRC.
Kasi alam mo naman, marami na malapit sa amin.
Sobrang big time natin na makarami lumalapit.
Emil, you know this.
To be fair, I have face blindness. So if you don't tell your name, I will not remember who you are.
Yeah, diba?
So
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It's like between doing comedy for a living and just ignoring people's faces, I have face blindness. So kung hindi nyo sinabi sa akin yung pangalan nyo, sorry. I won't remember who you are.
I don't have face blindness. I just have really bad memory nowadays. Like
Si Bruce Lim nga nung... Sorry, go ahead. Si Bruce Lim...
No, I was just gonna say that yung contacts list utak ko puno na.
Yeah, when Bruce introduced himself to me during the viewing party, ang sinabi ko lang sa kanya was, "Oy, long time no see." Like I've known him for some time.
Yeah. I mean,
It's just like an automatic response. Pero
we have known him for some time.
Well, hindi ko pa siya nabibig in person, so that would have been an awkward thing to say, diba?
Tingnan nyo naman yung profile ni Bruce, diba? Di agad recognizable yung face niya.
Yeah.
Sorry, we're just dumping
anime pa
on
naman
you,
yung
Bruce.
ano mo.
We're just dumping on you, Bruce. Sorry.
No,
Didn't
Bruce,
mean to do that.
so sino ba? Si Glendale, si Bruce.
Si Glendale pala, si Glendale.
No, we're not talking about
Glendale,
here.
understandable.
We're not talking about
Si
him.
anime yan eh. Yeah.
Si Bruce, yeah.
Basta si Bruce ang tularan natin. Right, magto 10 seconds na. We're gonna shut up now.
What's going on? This is Xavier Woods, aka Austin Creed.
I said, give me a hell yeah! Hey, this is Zeta Zay.
Hello, WWE Universe in the Philippines. This is Charlotte.
Talent is not sexually transmitted.
You need to go back to the drawing board because your game absolutely sucks.
Hey everyone, this is Jeff Cobb.
I'm Lewis Howley. I'm Sam Scotia. We are pretty deadly. Yes, boy. Yes, boy.
Hello, my name is Ilya Dragunov. This is Czar, the NXT UK champion, and you're listening to the Wrestling Podcast.
You're watching and listening to the longest running weekly episodic Filipino wrestling podcast. This is the Wrestling Podcast. Stancy, Romaran, Chino Liao, and Emil ASH at your service for another Thursday live stream. And based on the comments, I think we need to say thank you to everybody who caught the show last Sunday and were part of the raucous pops that we heard throughout the event. So thank you to everybody. You guys are the real MVPs. Lalo na yung mga nawalan ng boses.
Si Rowan absent kasi nawalan ng boses.
Oh.
Your boy became a mark.
Well, he has always been one. He never stopped being one.
Oo nga naman. Ikaw, Emil, paano ka ba nag-survive at hindi nawalan ng boses?
For those who didn't tune in to the audio only.
Hindi ako nawala ng boses because most of the time, yung mga chants nila, hindi pa ako nakakasabay because it's so random.
Rowan did not have the courtesy to clue you in on what he was gonna do.
I mean, he did. He did naman, to be fair.
Hindi ka na binigyan ng briefing dun sa mga chance na gagawin niya.
Because most of the time, he would just start, he would just scream out a random chant and then everyone will follow. Yeah, he did that like all night long. So, I guess kudos to Rowan, pero wala
siyang boses. Nawalan siya ng boses.
What did you feel about that? What do you feel about chanting anyway? What are your thoughts on chanting?
Siguro yung mga normal chants I'm okay with, pero I guess that's also the culture of a wrestling crowd. Yung mga random chants.
Oh yeah, but you yourself, what are your personal feelings on chanting? Kasi I've come to
sports fan,
It should be with context. Yun lang yung sa akin. Like ayoko lang yung super random na yung mga super smarts lang yung makakakuha. Yun lang.
Okay.
Yeah, that's my feelings about it. Like, if there's a chant, it should be like everyone has a clue on what it's about. Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
Yeah. I also want to say thanks to everyone who gave me such a babyface pop last Sunday, which is kind of weird because the very first moment I appeared, I tried my best to not be likable. So that was way more babyface cheers I got when I was an actual babyface. So thank you, everybody. Really appreciated it. We have a lot to talk about this week. We're going to be unpacking the WWE Draft, a lot of news from outside the ring, tapos magba-Backlash predictions tayo because it's a pay-per-view weekend once again. The Backlash Premium Live event is on Sunday, Manila time, 8 a.m. pa rin kasi yung San Juan, Puerto Rico is in the same time zone as the East Coast. So 8 a.m. Manila time on Disney Plus. And Disney Plus actually posted about it already. So, you're sure to be able to catch it on Disney Plus by then. And stick around or stay tuned because in a few weeks, we might be cooking something up as we look for a new WWE World Heavyweight Champion. And we'd like it very much if you could join us for that event that we're preparing. In the meantime, though, we want to let you know about our growing Patreon community na alam ni Emil what to say. So, Emil, have at it.
All right, so if you want to get the full Wrestling Podcast experience, you could do that by subscribing to our Patreon at patreon.com/Wrestling Podcast for as low as $5, or in our local currency, it's around 275 pesos. And you'll get you'll get perks, when you subscribe to our Patreon. The Discord, of course, you could be a part of our Discord community where you could interact with your fellow podcasts and talk about, everything and anything under the sun. Like, of course, you got some wrestling talk, but you also can interact with us and talk to us about anything like music, memes, fashion, sports, and there's also some watch parties. I am sure this May, there's I think 3
Oh
pay-per-views
yeah.
or
No, no, no.
PLEs. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. This weekend, syempre, it's still on Disney Plus, so you don't
Yep.
really have to watch it on Discord with us. But syempre, we will be bringing that party vibe as we talk about the show in real time, starting at 8 a.m. and then hanggang sa matapos siya.
Yeah. And also we have our pasabais which dumating na
Oh yes.
yung yeah, dumating na siya yung last
Nice.
time that we did it during WrestleMania weekend. So if you want to be a part of the next one, if you want to get your authentic wrestling merch, WWE, AEW, or any other wrestling merch that you like, you could get it through us. And you can also experience the review content of the weekly wrestling shows like Raw, SmackDown, NXT, Dynamite, and some local wrestling events as well, courtesy of Rowan. And by subscribing to our Patreon, you are supporting everything that we do here on the podcast. So again, please subscribe to our Patreon at patreon.com/wrestling podcast, where you can subscribe for as low as $5.
All right. We're recording and streaming on May 4, so a customary May the 4th be with you sa lahat ng mga Star Wars fans na nanonood at nakikinig ng Wrestling Podcast. Siyempre may intersectionality naman between both fandoms. Now, let's get to our first piece of news outside the ring. We're actually going to be tackling several missteps in the PR of one AEW, and we're going to start with the Britt Baker t-shirt. You know what
Sakto
we're
yung
talking
ano.
about right here.
Sakto yung ano ni Glendale eh. Yung kanyang segue.
Ah, na-predict niya na yun ang una nating pag-uusapan. So, the internet is divided about this. Obviously, domestic violence ang usapan when you see a picture like that, especially without the context of the Britt Baker and Adam Cole angle with the Outcasts and the JAS. So, I'm going to start with you, Emil. What are your feelings towards this particular shirt?
Una ko naisip when I saw this shirt is that I am not this is a shirt that I'm not gonna wear in public kasi people, of course, like hindi naman lahat ng tao nanonood ng wrestling. Hindi naman lahat ng tao may alam towards the angle that is happening on AEW TV. So if people will see me wearing this shirt outside, they may think that they may think that I am a abuser or nananakit ako ng tao, which is di naman. So it's yun there's certain wrestling shirts talaga na it really looks bad when you wear in public, but this one I think takes the cake for me.
Okay, okay. Chino, where does this rank among shirts that are problematic? Kasi this is by far not the first problematic shirt we've seen.
I'm going to get to your question in a bit. I just want to say that promotes is a strong word for this.
Yeah, actually
kind
have thoughts about this question per se.
Yeah,
But
it promotes is strong. It's not like telling you to beat up women.
yeah.
The shirt is not telling you to beat up women, okay? First of all, I'm not here defending domestic abusers. What I'm here to defend is context and the idea behind the shirt, which was, I guess, okay and actionable when it was pitched. Pero the execution was a little lacking, diba? So, yung idea nito was to troll Britt Baker after she and Adam Cole were jumped in this sort of dramatic high tension scenario that Chris Jericho sprung on the couple, right? And it was enacted in a safe environment that was scripted, maybe not the shiner, but everything else was done under professional stipulations, shall we say. So for me, if you were going to say that this shirt promotes violence, then paano pa yung 100 other times where men beat up women in a wrestling context, diba? Like, how are we going to pick this shirt out of that and not talk about Bubba Ray dubbed the power bombing divas in the 90s? Or Randy Orton punting Stephanie McMahon right in the middle of the ring or invading their home during that storyline with Triple H, diba? Madaming mali sa wrestling, and I'm not defending the actions of this particular shirt, but I'm not a fan of things being taken out of context. I'm not a fan of outright objection without first understanding the point of the product. That said, I don't think it's the worst shirt. I mean, I've had shirts that I've gotten in trouble for I was wearing the Asuka shirt, which was very good, by the way, the original Asuka shirt, and somebody called me out on it on a train. Kasi nga hindi nila na-gets yung context. Kala nila it was just a half-naked lady on my shirt. But they didn't understand that it was a female wrestler, di ba? So the context is always important, especially in a media, like in a medium rather, like wrestling.
Mhm.
All right. All right. Sorry, a lot of things to unpack here. First is this question here. For those who don't see it on Spotify, the question is: do you think this Britt Baker shirt promotes? It's not even Britt Baker shirt. It's the Outcast shirt trolling Britt Baker. So it's not even her, diba? It's not even her merch. Uh, it doesn't promote domestic violence. I don't think that was the idea. Mostly because I also know the context of this T-shirt, and I don't think there is there is anything that promotes any one way. It doesn't promote. Does it promote domestic violence? Does it protect or promote against domestic violence? It is a terribly designed shirt that does not say either way, and that's where the problem is. The problem is it's a bad shirt because this image raises so many questions, and if you if your point by wearing it is to be provocative, then congratulations. But for the most part, wrestling fans don't really want to be provocative. They just want to wear a shirt that they think looks nice. And that's where the problem is. You're gonna get a lot, yeah, like Chino said in his Asuka story, you're gonna get a lot of funny looks about this T-shirt because it has a woman with a black eye on it, and whether or not you support that is really up in the air. Do you really want to go through that? Do you really want to go through the process of defending this design every time one single person raises their eyebrows at it? So that's where the execution failed, and that's what people are actually raising. That's distinct people are raising actually, and not the fact that it's woke or lack thereof, diba? So I think that's where the problem is. The people who are defending this shirt don't see the PR nightmare for the people wearing the shirt, and the company marketing the shirt, diba? So they think it's a problem of whether or not we're woke or sensitive enough. It's just that. It's not that. It's just whether or not you are wearing a shirt that you don't have to explain every time.
What about the side that says na that shirt is triggering if you're a domestic abuse
Yeah.
victim?
Oh yeah. That's also very valid. Also very valid. I think that side cannot be invalidated as well. Pero a lot of people are. I think you don't have to go there. I don't think you have to go there. It's a great solid point to fall back to. I just don't think you have to go there. You just have to. The mere fact that this red flag alone is here, it should be enough.
Mm-hmm. All right. Any other thoughts on the Outcasts trolling Britt Baker shirt?
I'm good.
No,
Yeah, I think we're all in alignment naman na, na this is a really
It's a bad
terrible
shirt,
execution. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, then let's move on to the next PR misstep. Earlier this week, there was a tweet from Mike Coppinger of ESPN, who, for context, as Chino mentioned earlier, is represented by CAA, which is the agency that Nick Khan used to work for before he signed with WWE in 2020. So, si Mike Coppinger followed up a report na mga 40K seats lang yung inalot ng AEW sa Wembley, or yung bebenta ng AEW sa Wembley Stadium for All In. And Tony Khan replied to that tweet. You can see the tweet right there, but for those listening on the audio-only version, Tony Khan tweeted, and I quote, the tweet is still up as of recording, by the way. He says, "Lies," in all caps. "What a load of crap. Tell your agent Nick Khan to shove it up his ass." End quote. This is pretty problematic when you have someone dragging Nick Khan out of nowhere, nananahimik yung tao, and hindi naman WWE yung pinag-uusapan dito. So, ikaw, Chino, what do you think here?
Again, Tony Khan, feeling niya pwede niyang i-challenge si Nick Khan to like a street fight.
Nick Khan is a big dude.
Yeah. Like that's the thing. He thinks he's in a promo, and he thinks he can call Nick Khan out, and Nick Khan is suddenly using to put on tights and fucking answer back with a promo of his own. No, he's a businessman. This man-child Tony Khan needs to Tayo na may pagbayad siya ng Twitter Blue, wala siyang pagbayad ng social etiquette. Ang labo ng tao talaga.
Yeah, no. Yeah. Sorry, Emil, go ahead.
He acts like a I mean, for someone who owns one of the biggest wrestling promotions in the world, he should not be acting this way on social media. And sometimes he acts like a troll for some reason. Parang he didn't grow up from that phase
Oh, he
of
did.
his life.
No. He did. He did. I will tell you that he did.
All right.
He grew up. He is an internet forum baby like me.
Okay, yes. Pero ano for the sake of PR, I think he should let other people handle social media kasi it would really look bad on him when
Kaya na
on
internet
a
mo, Emil.
on a public platform. So yun lang. He just needs better training, I guess, when it comes to
I don't.
PR.
I don't think it's training that he needs anymore. I think he is well aware of how he comes across on social media, and I think parang he uses it as a reason to believe for his fans to to protect and take up the fight for AEW. So yung ano natin, yung leader natin, totoo siya, ano, straight talker, real talker siya. So
Oh, yun.
support
You
natin
know what?
yan.
Now that you mentioned it, sorry.
Uh,
He sounds like wrestling Donald Trump.
exactly.
That's what he sounds like.
In a way, there is balita. I don't know how true, but if you subscribe to our Patreon, you can get this chismis on our Discord every now and then. That he may be, a little on the spectrum, which can explain quite a bit. It can explain why he is the way that he is. I don't know if it's true. Um, I don't want to pass that off as fact. Only that it kind of lines up with how he behaves. Whether or not it's true, I do think that his, like Donald Trump, like Chino said, I do think his Twitter needs to be taken away from him. For some reason, Vince actually is the better tweeter between the two of them. Vince somehow gets to tweet from like a PR position. Parang I
You
think
want to know why? Because Vince has somebody doing it for him.
I would assume so. Diba? I would assume
unlike,
so.
Unlike TK.
Yeah. So yeah, it's not just training anymore. I think he does need to control, and I do. The problem, kasi, is if you're on, it's like again like Trump. If your online tweetings don't get consequences, then there's no real reason to stop it. That's why as Steven said here, sayang yung pag-hire nila sa PR guy from WWE kasi unless TK gets sanctioned for something, unless he finds out after fucking around, there's no reason for him to get his Twitter taken away from him, diba? So that's the thing. It's just sad because people will glorify this behavior because it's petty and people live
Real
for
talk
that kind
daw
of drama.
Genuine daw
people will live for that kind of drama. Kasi it inadvertently fuels the flames of tribalism between WWE and AEW. So that behavior is always going to get encouraged. So sayang na talaga. We can cry foul about it. We can wring our hands about it all week, all day. But something else is just going to happen, and we're going to repeat the cycle all over again.
One last thing,
people like you,
that I just
Aaron.
wanna that I want to mention about this is when the boss, the head honcho of your company, acts this way online, it also sends the message, whether anyone is conscious or not, na everyone else in the company can behave like this. Because if the head honcho can get away with it, then why shouldn't I be able to get away with it?
Kaya nga sila nagagano sa All Access, diba? Kaya nila ginagamit yung kanilang drama sa All Access because it is apparently a culture over there.
Yeah.
Problema kasi dito, wala siyang accountability din eh. I think that's the real deal here. Tony Khan isn't accountable to anybody, unlike in the WWE, which is a publicly traded business. They're accountable to their shareholders, diba? So in a sense, hindi na nila hawak yung business. Tony Khan is the top of the food chain rather, and he's only accountable to himself. This is his trade set. This is his pet project. Anything short of that, wala siyang pakialam. So he just does what he wants, and he doesn't have to deal with consequences. And that's just the truth of the matter.
Yeah, it's just really sad that he can press the WWE shield button, and then people will defend whatever he says because he will frame it as a war again versus the other side.
Yeah, I won't be surprised if he asks AEW fans to storm Connecticut or such one day.
I
Like
mean, I
have
hope
his
not.
own little insurrection, diba?
Yeah. Technically, he should be accountable to the co-founder, which is his father, Shahid Khan. But I don't know. I don't know what goes on behind closed doors.
Baka wala masyadong pakialam si Shad about the whole thing kasi he has other businesses to run.
Yeah.
Yes, two sports teams, diba?
Yeah,
So
diba?
On top of AEW, that's right. So, anyway, we'll take a break. When we come back, one last AEW bit na pag-uusapan natin, and we're going to talk about Trinity Fatu's move to Impact Wrestling. But first, here's a quick word from our other kapodcasts on Podcast Network Asia. All right, a related note to yung pinag-usapan natin kanina regarding All In, which is happening in London this August. So, yung latest report is that umabot ng 40 plus actually. Medyo outdated itong tweet from the Wrestling Observer newsletter. Over 40,000 tickets na raw yung nabenta sa All In for the pre-sale. So, it's good numbers for any stadium, much less Wembley Stadium, di ba? But what do you think about the mandate that they have to sell out itong All In?
Grabe yung sensationalist headline natin. Sell out or failure. No, I don't think anyone is considering it a failure. It's just that when I put this
Steps
here,
to success, yes.
Yeah, my question really is that do we need or do they need to sell out the 90K seats of Wembley Stadium for it to be considered a success? Is anything less a failure? Because for me, ito success na to eh. Kasi like that's huge numbers for AEW. Like if all of these pre-sales were one completely bought out by the time August rolls around, and two, all that's they're gonna get, I would still think that's a pretty good house.
yeah, same. I agree. When we started producing comedy shows after the pandemic, we all went after theaters. Si Red Oliero said that the reason he started doing theaters kasi may acclaim na kasama yan eh, di ba? Regardless of how much sold out it actually is, and all his shows have sold out. But it doesn't matter how actually sold out it is. The fact that you're able to perform in a theater that's 1,000 seats plus, malaking bagay na yun eh, because there's a reputation that comes with that. The same thing goes for this very first show by AEW in London. You know, they went after the big fish. They got Wembley, and regardless of whether or not they sell it out, they pack it up to the rafters, get those WrestleMania numbers like they want, magkakaroon pa rin siya ng reputation na, oh, their first show was in Wembley. Diba? How are they going to top that? What are they going to do when they come back? Diba? There's a thing that happens when you do that. So parang magkakaroon siya ng development over the next few years when they continue to do shows in the UK.
Mm-hmm. I think it's a big deal just on the fact na they're in another country. Diba? You're 4 years into your company, and then you don't really take your shows out on the road outside of the Dynamite and Rampage tapings. So for you to be able to take it for a huge event in another country, kahit na sabihin mong UK yan, na malakas naman talagang wrestling fan base, you're still taking this 4-year-old company to another country. I'd say that is a success in and of itself, the fact that they're able to sell these 40,000 tickets on the pre-sale alone.
Yeah. Saka considering this is their first major stadium show and they haven't even announced any matches yet. The fact that they sold over 40,000, that's already a major success for me. Because when you look at the stadium, you see 40,000 people. That's a lot of people. like some people are underestimating 40,000 people. I don't know why, but the fact that they sold 40,000 on the first 2 days of the sale of the tickets, so that's major props to AEW.
To Glendale's point here in the chat, if they sell 90K into the matches, uh, my friend, WWE does that all the time for WrestleMania. Like they set quote unquote records in attendance, and then the shows are always just at least. So why
Yeah,
why is it why is it any different here?
we're not talking about match quality here. We're
Oh,
just talking
exactly.
about attendance. Okay,
Yeah,
Mayo.
diba? Attendance is the name of the game. Because I don't care if if you put on the finger poke of doom 2023. The point is you got tickets in the door, but you got butts in the seats. So that is the bottom line for us in the business here. So um, yun nga, it's just that there are some people who are saying that if they said they set the bar high, diba? They set the bar na we want this to sell out, and we're not even gonna reduce the seating for the stage setup, diba? So that's pretty big, and I'm really wondering how much of it can be considered a success already. But I agree with all of you guys now. This should be considered a success now.
Yeah. Great point here from one of our patrons, Aaron, in the chat, who says, na for comparison, Clash at the Castle drew 62,000 people. Yun yung release na number ni WWE. So for AEW to be more than halfway there, that's great. That's a great start, di ba?
Yeah, Aaron, they're not closing any seats. All of the seats apparently available at Wembley are up for grabs.
Yeah. All right, let's move on to our last piece of news outside the ring. Trinity Fatu is now part of Impact Wrestling. She showed up over the weekend, and there was an article on TV Line that came out just yesterday where she shares na part of the decision to sign with Impact came from how she walked out alongside Mercedes Moné. And it was because, and I quote, of the way that she was talked to and handled. Siyempre, we've been speculating about this for a long time, ever since the walkout happened in May. This is actually the first time that Trinity has made any public comments about that incident since that walkout. So I guess it's still jarring to an extent to hear na yun nga talaga yung punot dulo nung pangyayari.
Yeah, it's kind of embarrassing then how people have still, clowned them because they chose to walk out as though they knew the story. Because syempre, you wouldn't walk out without a reason, diba? So uh, now that they actually commented on it, it's pretty telling na how the Vince regime really worked. I mean, we all speculated it, but uh, again, there are stories like this coming out, and the people who were defending the company over this still kind of look silly once again. And I'm glad that Trinity found her place in Impact. The reasons as to why exactly Impact, will never know, but the fact that she is back with the company and doing what I assume what she likes is a great ending for now to this chapter of her story.
Yeah, she even goes on to say in the TV Line article na hopefully you haven't seen the best of me yet, which implies na the peak of her career is still way ahead of her.
Yeah, no, as one of the probably only Impact fans remaining, I am good. Impact has a great women's division, very stacked. So, and it's not the first time they've welcomed a former underutilized WWE talent. You just look at Deonna Purrazzo and where her career went. She skyrocketed ever since leaving developmental or NXT. Trinity Fatu has the potential to do the same thing here. In fact, they are already building up to her, teasing her against Deonna and putting her up against Giselle Shaw, just as a way to promote her apart from her history with the WWE. Kasi nakita natin na ang tagal niya sa WWE, it's probably the only place she's actually wrestled. Diba? She was she was an FCW developmental talent. So it'll be interesting to see how she fares in a different scenario, albeit not that different kasi ang dami pa rin WWE guys in that side of the wrestling world. But it'll be interesting to see her grow and develop and evolve from where she once was.
Mm-hmm. Ikaw, Emil, your thoughts on this move?
Siguro props to Trinity and Mercedes for having the courage to walk away when pag talagang pag talagang gusto nila umalis because of how they were being treated, because there's a lot of people who feels the same way, but they can't feel that they can walk out because mawala sila ng trabaho, mawala sila ng kita. So for them to do this and then explore other avenues to to do their wrestling. So sobrang bilib ako sa kanila, and wishing all the best to Trinity, and I hope she can really make some impact there on Impact. So.
Wow, look at you intending your puns. uh, now I wanted to add one thing. I've seen some memes already, saying that Trinity was quote unquote bad, that AEW or NJPW didn't want her, so she had to settle for Impact. Let's cut that bullshit out. I know that Impact isn't like the biggest game in town, but obviously there was a reason, a personal reason from her why she decided to choose Impact. I'm sure a former SmackDown Women's Champion would not have had a lack of offers from big companies around the world. So hindi ako naniniwalang hindi siya gusto ng mga companies na yun. So let's not base the person's worth on where they ended up in.
Yeah.
Plus saka
Sige,
di
Emil,
ba
go.
yung schedule ng Impact is lighter than other companies. So if they're paying her a lot of money for a light schedule, then good for her.
Yeah. She did mention herself in the TV Line article na the rumors, the speculation, all the chatter online did take a negative toll on her mental health. So, just to echo what Rose said, let's just cut that out kasi very unnecessary na rin to just pile on somebody, especially after what happened in the almost, it's been a year actually since Sasha and Naomi walked out. So, let's be over with that. Right, let's talk about the WWE draft now, and let's first set the table here with some of the things that we saw over the 2 nights of the WWE draft. So the Bloodline, they're all on SmackDown along with the undisputed WWE Universal Championship. The Women's Champions, nag-switch brand sila. The Intercontinental and United States Champions, nag-switch din. No teams or factions were split up at all, even though part of the allure of the draft is which teams will be split up, which factions will lose a member or whatever. There were a lot of NXT call-ups. So I guess the first question is, was this a good draft? Chino?
Yes and no. Yes for the call-ups. I enjoyed the call-ups. No, because the status quo really didn't change. They basically just turned Raw into black and gold NXT. Then yun yung pinaka-drastic change na nakita ko. And then everything else pretty much remains the same. Diba? They didn't split titles up. They didn't split championships up. Diba? It would have been interesting if they shook it up for the story's sake. But they still just, everything is still pretty complacent as far as I'm concerned.
Mm-hmm.
Sabi ni babyface producer Jasper, kulang daw. And in what might be the first time a babyface producer actually commented in the chat while manning our live stream. So congrats, babyface producer Jasper. Emil, sorry.
For me, it was a good draft. Nothing earth-shattering naman really, but for me, this draft basically reinforces the brand split after weeks and months of people. Yes, may brand split pa din, but you got people from Raw going to SmackDown, and then also vice versa. So for me, this draft just reinstated na, oh, may brand split. You're only gonna appear on this show, and you only gonna or you're only gonna appear on this show. So yun lang yung for me yung naging result ng draft.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't think it was much to write home about. Like, okay, it's a draft, but the draft was still, as Chino said, it reinforced the status quo. And like, I had big expectations because this is like Triple H's first draft, but I guess it's not really his first draft since Vince is still looking over his shoulder. So I guess it's kind of disappointing kasi nothing big happened. The big selling point of partnerships being broken up, stables being shifted around did not happen. So why was there a draft in the first place? So sana kung if the biggest movements were really the NXT call-ups, then why couldn't it just have been an NXT draft? diba? So it felt really weird for me, and it was kind of a whimper in what was supposed to be a big bang. Because I know they made a big deal out of it. You know, Triple H was moving the draft from October, which was supposed to be the season premiere of Raw and SmackDown, to April, which is the actual season premiere for all of us wrestling WWE fans, about because after WrestleMania, and then it is pretty much same as the new boss, same as the old boss.
Para lang
Right.
tong ano, yung remember yung superstar shake-up from years ago?
Yeah,
Para
yeah.
lang, yeah, para lang to yung dun ka.
Mm-hmm. So let's go through the NXT call-ups for people who missed it. Alba Fire and Isla Dawn got drafted. Indy Hartwell, Apollo Crews, JD McDonough, Zoe Stark. You also have Pretty Deadly, Katana Chance and Caden Carter, Cameron Grimes, friend of the podcast Grayson Waller, all three of In the Share, and Odyssey Jones. Yun yung mga call-ups. So meron bang na-miss?
Ilya for
Did
me.
you say indie?
Yeah, I did say Indy.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, like, is there someone that you feel should have been drafted but did not get drafted?
Ilya for
I
me.
agree with Emil, Ilya, para yung mga NXT interviewees natin kompleto
Yeah.
sa WWE draft. But yeah, that is weird. I wouldn't call up JD McDonald's over Ilya Dragunov. That is strange, but they're not bad talents. They're not bad wrestlers. Some of these guys are deserving. Some of these are need to stay down NXT. Some of these did need to get to the next level already. Not bad. I wouldn't say a bad. The fact that there were a lot of NXT picks overall made it worthwhile for me.
Mm-hmm.
Odyssey Jones was a weird one for me. I didn't really see that happen. Like, feeling ko medyo hilaw pa siya because his push really kind of died. Diba? So, si Dante Cheng, was he called up? He wasn't called up.
No,
diba?
he was not called up.
No, he was not.
Yun yung hinihintay ko. Kasi because of the main event match, could have won the show for Dante Cheng.
Yeah.
But yeah, yun lang din yung thoughts ko on the NXT call-ups.
Yeah, Von Wagner and Zion Quinn are apparently now on the main roster as well, pero they're free agents. Ito rin, honestly, medyo naguluhan ako na meron tayong mga free agents aside from Brock Lesnar or Logan Paul. So, Baron Corbin, free agent, Cedric and Shelton, Dolph Ziggler, Elias, Mustafa Ali. Yung kay Omos and MVP yon at least inexplained din alongside Brock Lesnar's. But yung nga, sina Von Wagner, Zion Quinn, they're free agents. And then obviously yung mga injured like Big E, Alexa Bliss, Bray Wyatt, Carmella who's pregnant. A lot of other wrestlers on the main roster are unassigned, which is normal naman for every draft for yung mga injured. Eto, tanong ni Aaron, what do you think of this free agency concept that WWE has introduced this year?
Just go ahead, bro. Sorry.
No, I just wanted to say I don't know because I don't know how it's gonna play out. Are they gonna get segments on TV showing Adam Pearce, who is the lone general manager for both brands, will sign this guy to what a one night contract for Raw or SmackDown. Tapos after nun pwede na siyang okay sana kung may ganung sports analog, real world sports analogs, but even Triple H has not really gone that far yet, so I don't know. It doesn't seem like it's gonna be a good execution of the free agency concept.
Is this just their in-story way of creating jobbers and good hands? Like, kailangan ng tag team partner ni ganito, or you're in a match against ganyan. Diba? Parang it feels very obvious for me that this is where they're going with these guys. Now, probably not Brock and Omos, sure. Diba? Then just last Agents of Chaos. But for everybody else in the bottom half of the card, parang dun sila papunta. And I don't think it does them a service.
To be fair, when we saw the Heath Got Kids angle in 2016, that was actually a novel way of working around the free agency concept. Kasi diba, it was weird. Everyone was eligible to be drafted, but for some reason they thought it would be funny na si Heath hindi siya madadraft at all. And I think it was JBL or someone who's spoken about this since na someone in the back thought it would be funny kung mag-end yung draft one pick parang one pick minus everyone available, which is why Heath did not get drafted. And it turned into a very nice little story with Heath and Rhino eventually winning the SmackDown Tag Team Championships. And now Heath eventually got assigned to SmackDown. So for 2023, I don't know. I don't know if there's anyone they can actually plug into a role like that.
Wala. I don't think it was meant for that role. I think it was just them stashing people because they didn't want to stick them in one brand. Like for Brock Lesnar and Logan Paul, I think that was a way to please again the networks who want a big star on both on their show, which is a big political influence on this draft and on the brand split in general.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Any other insights from the draft that you want to point out?
I just wish na maybe in the future drafts merong concept of trades like while the draft is ongoing. Like, but
this has happened before, like in 2004. Nangyari na to.
Pero merong dalawang general manager noon eh.
Yun pa eh. Sorry. Yun din yung problema ko with this draft. The legends that are coming out announcing these picks, na parang Raw selects, SmackDown selects. Who's doing the selection?
Oh nga, exactly.
Isn't it just Adam Pearce? Why are they trying to make it a division when we all know it's just one guy? Parang yun din yung problema ko eh.
I was okay when yung 2016 draft, I believe, when they showed the networks represent putting
no, that was 2019.
2019, yeah. That made more sense because at least they were actually playing up the fact that it was the networks who wanted these rosters. Kasi, diba? Yun naman yung nangyayari talaga sa totoong buhay. So, sana ginawa na lang nila.
That draft where the Raw executives was so happy to get Natalia. I remember.
But at least may War Room, diba? I think that was the first time we ever saw a War Room in
that was
WWE.
Nice, diba? Ito parang medyo who's doing the selecting.
They should bring that back, yung mga War Rooms, so that there's a real concept na there's two sides na nag-aagawan for these talents.
Yeah, I thought Triple H would take the time to flesh that out because he fleshed out a lot of things and alam mo yun, taas ang expectations ko for him, but no, guess not.
Yeah.
All right, sige, let's move on. We've got a PLE this weekend. Again, it's Backlash Sunday, Manila time, 8 a.m. on Disney+. So let's start with Seth freaking Rollins versus Omos, which got announced a couple of weeks ago despite Seth and Omos never having really interacted. Tapos kumabig si MVP the following week to say na dahil nga magiging free agent itong si Omos, he wants to give Omos the biggest spotlight ever by letting him have an opponent at the caliber of Seth freaking Rollins.
Yeah, it's weird. They didn't have to do that before. They didn't have to announce the match before that explanation, diba? Parang, I don't know what they were waiting for. Bakit nila minadali yan? That said, this is a tough choice. But not so tough that I wouldn't pick Seth Rollins.
Yeah, ako din. It's weird na they're putting this together so haphazardly, but I think Seth Rollins is being built up for that new title run.
It's got to be him.
So ako, I believe Seth did.
All right.
Yeah, Seth also. Yeah, also the same reasons that Chino said.
Okay. For those who are just silently watching the live stream right now, you can feel free to put in your picks in the comments. All right. Open season for comments and predictions here as we do every week. All right, next match on the card that we have is Austin Theory defending the United States Championship against Bronson Reed and Bobby Lashley.
Before I answer that, I just wanted to address Janelle here in the chat. He says that it's the most random match in pay-per-view history. My brother in Christ, they booked God in a pay-per-view. So,
yeah.
Let's not go that deep. Okay, I thought about this before we went on. Gunther was drafted to Raw with the rest of Imperium, and Austin Theory was drafted to SmackDown, while I think Lashley was drafted to SmackDown.
Yes, and Bronson Reed goes to Raw.
Bronson Reed goes to Raw. So I for that alone, I don't think Austin Theory is losing the championship. Um, just keep it on, keeping it on SmackDown. Yun lang naman.
Yeah, for me, for some reason, I still think it's too early for Austin to lose the title. Kasi I haven't seen anyone na I think should be next in line for it. So Austin retains.
Yeah, same.
Mm-hmm.
Just to enforce the title switch.
All right. Since we mentioned the team up of Shawn Michaels and God, I must point out that it happened uh, 17 years ago this week in wrestling history at
17?
Backlash.
Yes,
Yes.
you were a baby then. I
Oh
mean,
my god.
April 30, 2006, Backlash. It
What a
was
dark time
Vince
in
and
wrestling.
Shane McMahon versus Shawn Michaels and God. All right.
Oh my god.
Now that we've gotten that out of the way, one more match here before we go to break. The Raw Women's Championship will be defended. Bianca Belair versus Io Sky.
okay. Ito at least diba? They were both on SmackDown. Now, um, as much as I would want someone like Io Sky to win, they're obviously they drafted Fox drafted Bianca Belair for a reason, and the reason is she is still a pretty great champion, all things considered. They're gonna have a banger match, but this is just a plot device for the eventual breakup of Damage Control. So Bianca Belair for the win.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Also, yeah.
sorry, go ahead,
Sige,
Eddie.
Chino. Oh yeah. Interestingly, both of them were drafted to SmackDown, yet they're competing for the women's
Yeah, kasi
title. Yeah.
hindi pa naman effective yung draft picks until after
Yes.
Backlash.
And as much like I'm pushing for an EO singles push, but again, I said before it's not gonna happen while she is part of Damage Control. So I think we are more likely to head into a Damage Control breakup story rather than an EO title win right now. So Bianca retains.
Mm-hmm.
Same, just Bianca for all the reasons mentioned.
What
Pero
if Io wins and gets a Randy Orton moment? Nah, she's the champion, Damage Control celebrating, then Bailey turns on her.
You
yun
know
nga
what?
yung
I would
naisip ko. Sorry,
sorry,
go ahead.
I would love to be proven wrong by saying Bianca Belair. That would be like the best thing for me.
Yeah.
Kung nanalo na si Io.
That would also be a good thing as well. They have been showing over the past few weeks that Bianca has been kind of on Io's side with regard to how they interact with Damage Control. So may konting alita na dun. It's just that I don't think that's gonna happen because Dakota is also not on Bailey's side with the little stuff. So the turn is gonna be Bailey on the on the two of them, not the two of them on Io. So that's gonna be tough. But you know, there are so many different ways the story can go, and I would also want to see that happening as well.
Mm-hmm. All right, let's predict the second half of the Backlash card after the break. So let's hear from our other podcasts right here on Podcast Network Asia. All right, before we proceed with the rest of the Backlash card, let's address this comment here from Bruce.
Okay, Bruce says he hopes that they would just stop doing the title switches where the other drafts the brand drafts the other brand's champion, tapos the other brand does the same, then they just end up switching the titles. I don't know how else you would rather do that, man. Like these are literally the champions, and unless you are booking your own brand's contender versus the other brand's champion, which they did not, There is literally no other way to, uh, keep or retain these championship reigns and have it make sense. I feel like your problem is with how they do it, where you just they end up switching the titles physically in front of everyone, and sometimes it doesn't go, or it doesn't feel ceremonial. So that's the fact, the issue of uh switching the championships physically is not the problem. It's just that I think you want it done in a serious way. So I don't know kasi how else you want them to address that.
There's also a comment from Glendale earlier na nakita ko, and he asked, will Bianca go back to yung if there's a switch, no? Is that considered a new reign, and magiging ano ba yung, because she has been champ for over a year now. So how many days is that? 300 plus days.
Yeah,
So
399 days by Backlash.
mapuputol ba yun doon, or despite the switch, the reign will still continue? So those are the questions na I think valid naman itanong, I guess.
Okay,
I wouldn't.
I'm
Yeah.
looking at Wikipedia right now kasi yun lang naman yung parang pinaka-source natin dito. According to Wikipedia, Becky Lynch's Raw Women's Championship reign, which ended at WrestleMania 38 when Bianca beat her, is a continuation from the SmackDown Women's Championship.
Okay, got it. All right,
Mm.
that's
Yeah.
good.
That makes sense to me.
Yeah, so there. I think it's just one continuous reign, tapos nag-switch na lang ng championships, and then the reign just continued from when it originally began.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a uniquely wrestling problem.
Yeah, it is. Maybe Bruce maybe what you really need, Bruce, is like a big super serious ceremony where I don't know, some pyro happens and
Tsaka kasi, sorry.
no, go ahead.
Yung whole point of switching the champions is usually down to metrics, diba?
Yeah.
Like the reason Bianca is on SmackDown now is because Fox wanted her on SmackDown.
Yeah.
The reason Gunther is on Raw now is because they needed a fresh face in Austin Theory on a Fox show. Diba? So parang really, you're really gonna get down to the meta narrative. Yun talaga yung nagsasabi na ano talaga yung point nitong mga championship switches. Yes, sometimes it looks weird. Tama naman din si Bruce doon sa ganung point. But I mean,
Wait. I'm gonna correct myself. Apparently, the reigns did not continue. The reigns ended nung nag-switcheroo sila. So October 22, 2021 was when the Becky and Charlotte title switch happened on SmackDown. So according to Wikipedia's reign chart, a new reign started when they traded championships.
Okay. It's, okay.
Yeah, as Chino said, it's a uniquely WWE problem to have because WWE has two different networks and they just have to book around the whims of the networks.
Yeah. So there. Thanks for making us explore that because I never would have thought of it until you mentioned it. So at least may natutunan tayong bago. Right, on to more predictions for Backlash. Rhea Ripley and Zelina Vega, they're taking on each other for the SmackDown Women's Championship. Zelina Vega is the hometown hero here since siya yung of Puerto Rican descent. Any chances of Zelina walking out with the title here since she is going to SmackDown with the rest of LWO?
No, and that's where the draft informs a lot of the story happenings here. I wish they did the draft after Backlash. It felt like that would have made more sense. Pero ito yung spoiler natin for this show. So even though we didn't need that to know that Rhea wasn't going to lose the championship to Zelina Vega, even if it's her hometown, diba? So Rhea wins. Mommy wins.
Yeah. No, I feel like Backlash in Puerto Rico is a good showcase for all the Puerto Rican talent, the Boricua talent that the WWE has. But at the same time, I feel like in this scenario, wala talagang laban si Zelina Vega kay Rhea Ripley. She's just way too dominant in this current phase of her career.
Mm-hmm. Ikaw, Emil, do you doubt Mommy?
No, Rhea retains kasi my wrestling logic always tells me the champion will not lose their first title defense. So Rhea will still be the champ.
Okay. Don't let Sasha Banks hear you.
Don't let Christian hear you.
Okay. Right, moving on. Cody Rhodes versus Brock Lesnar. People were saying that ito yung presumptive main event. I'm not sure if this is the main event. it probably is. So, ayan, yun yung two questions. Who wins and is this the main event?
I would not make Bad Bunny not the main event in Puerto Rico. Like that's
Yeah.
asking for trouble.
Yeah.
Kahit si Damien Priest yung kalaban mo, like that's
Yeah.
fucking
Damien
Bad
Priest
Bunny.
is Boricua. He's from
Yeah, I
Puerto
know
Rico.
exactly. But he's not Cody Rhodes or Brock Lesnar. That's why people would assume that this match is the presumptive main event. So I would, I would put the biggest Puerto Rican of all time in the main event. So that's the answer for question number 2. For this, I said it before when they started building the story, when they literally ignited the story. The loss to Roman was one thing, but you can't keep giving Cody L's. And I feel like even if this is Brock, they gotta do him a solid and have him win against Brock here. Kasi otherwise, I don't know. Diba? Cody wins.
It's interesting that you say that. Kasi on one hand, yes, tama na Cody needs to win. But then on another, how in control of Brock is this Triple H regime really? Like, are they able to convince him enough that he should take the L against Cody? Because we all know Brock is very selective with who he takes to the L to, right? And who he works with. So I'm kind of begrudgingly gonna have to say Brock here, just because he's also not had the best matches recently. He won by DQ to Omos for some reason, which is weird. Lost by DQ to Omos for some reason, diba? So parang in this scenario, I don't know. They want to reinforce the whole Monster Brock again. They probably might give him a win.
Okay, before Emil answers, the reason why I asked if this is the main event is because diba yung, the root of the conflict here is Brock was apparently upset daw that he opened WrestleMania Night 2 and wasn't anywhere near the main event. And Cody was in that main event against Roman Reigns. So like that was the reason why he attacked Cody.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't see how that has to do with his, with what Sheena said about, how he chooses who he's going to lose to. Diba? So I don't see how that in-person, in-character explanation would change the fact that Brock needs to lose to Cody.
No, sorry. I was saying that regarding your question, is this match going to be the main event?
Okay. It makes sense to me, yeah. Pwedeng ito, pero I wouldn't go against not putting a big Puerto Rican like Bad Bunny on the main event.
Yeah, from what I know about Puerto Rican wrestling fans, they are pretty let's use the word passionate. Diba? Madaming stories coming out of Puerto Rico na binabata sila ng mga bote. Wrestlers, I mean. So it's like back in the 80s, even as late as the 90s. Diba? I don't know if that's changed recently, but do you really want to test that theory out in Puerto Rico against the biggest music superstar of all time? Like, I don't know, man. It's pretty strange if they're gonna shorthand Bad Bunny like that.
Mm-hmm. Emil, who wins this one, Cody or Brock?
Honestly, the idea of Cody losing another big match is kind of interesting, pero you gotta give Cody some W's here. Kasi,
Exactly.
he's been taking L's since Mania, so I'll go with Cody here for the win.
Yeah, we don't want to see another rubber chicken next to Cody. All right, next up, 6-man tag. Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn alongside Matt Riddle take on the Bloodline.
Ito, mas gagawin ko pang main event to over Cody and Brock eh. But, I think Cody has earned his main event status then. For this, again, it's like what I said nung about last week's tag team championship rematch. The whole thing about the Usos split from the Bloodline is contingent on them continuing to lose, diba? So I think we've seen them win enough. This is their backslide period, so I think it's easy to give the faces here the W.
Mm-hmm.
Same. For all like story wise, it only makes sense. It only makes sense for them to lose because if they win, hindi nakupal si Roman sa kanila, di ba?
Oo,
And
di
they're
ba?
just, it negates the last month of storytelling. So parang if you want to see them lose because you want them to get to the point wherein they do a turn or the story changes. Di ba?
Okay,
Hindi
let's
pwede
change the question then. Is this where Solo turns on his brothers?
Okay. I think so, yeah. I think
Oof.
that is they have been
Strong.
building up to it, yeah.
It's a strong case. Yeah.
Okay,
Strong
okay.
case.
Emil.
To answer the question, yes, I think this will be the moment where Solo turns on his brothers. And aside from that, the babyface should win. And I think this should be it for Owens and Zayn versus the Bloodline story because now they're drafted separately. Owens and Zayn are on Raw. They should now begin to take on more challengers for the titles instead of still being involved in the Bloodline. Because for me, they've already finished their story against the Bloodline. So yun.
Yeah, baka dito na rin magsimula yung conscious uncoupling of the Undisputed Tag Team Championships.
Sana naman, di ba?
All right,
they're gonna
finally.
make a new set of championships. And
The
call
World
it
Heavyweight
World-
Tag Team Champion.
There we go.
Hey, if we're gonna have WWE Heavyweight Tags, we might as well have WWE Junior Heavyweight Tags.
Exactly.
Dati ko pa sinasabi yun eh. Nung panahon pa ng 205 Live eh. But anyway.
All right, the Wrestling Podcast preferred main event. The San Juan Street Fight between San Benito, Bad Bunny, and Damian Priest.
I mean, it's Bad Bunny. We really gonna have him lose.
I'm gonna say I want Bad Bunny to lose because
Why?
he has been having such a great life. Let's take the man down a leg. You know what I mean? You can't both headline and date Kendall Jenner and fucking be the best-selling superstar in music history. Diba? Hindi pwedeng lahat, man. Kailangan kalma lang. Like, gets ko, affirmative action and all that. But like, okay, the guy doesn't need the win. Who needs the win? Damian Priest needs the win. So I'm gonna say Damian Priest.
Ang prediction ko ay ang mananalo dito ay isang Boricua. So, no, but seriously, it's Bad Bunny. This is the pride of Puerto Rico, the pride of San Juan. I mean, yes, Damian Priest is the big scary wrestler, but have you seen Bad Bunny swing around the kendo stick? I think he's gonna lay it in really, really hard. So, feeling ko may dahilan naman, or it's gonna be believable rather how Bad Bunny ends up winning.
For me, it would be a fun street fight, that's for sure. And giving Bad Bunny the win here wouldn't be such a bad idea considering hometown niya naman to eh. And the street fight, the no DQ.
You're saying that like Damian Priest isn't from Puerto Rico. He's also from Puerto Rico. And
Also, San Juan is not Bad Bunny's hometown. Far from it, actually. He grew up in a small neighborhood outside of San Juan.
Okay, suburbs pala siya.
Medyo probinsya,
Plus,
actually. Pinanggalingan niya.
The no DQ, the street fight stipulation allows them to have interferences and shenanigans that would make Bad Bunny win but that would make a Bad Bunny win okay, and for Priest to not lose his credibility losing to a non-wrestler. So
let's not forget that the LWO has been taking so many L's leading up to
yung
this.
pa. So they will get their revenge on the Judgment Day somehow.
Yeah, they're gonna get involved. Judgment Day is gonna get involved. Eto hindi sa nagsasalita ako ng di tapos, pero baka magbuka tayong gago on Sunday when this match is the opener.
I mean, okay lang din.
Again, do you really want to take that risk with a crowd known for throwing actual bottles of piss at wrestlers? This is recorded wrestling history, guys. I don't know.
Yeah, Freddie Prinze Jr., who is also Puerto Rican, has told stories like this on his podcast. People in the comments, people listening to the audio-only version, let us know if you think Bad Bunny versus Damian Priest, is that gonna be the main event? What are your predictions? Anything you disagree with sa mga sinabi namin dito sa podcast, let us know on TikTok and on Twitter at Wrestling2XPod. We've got some audio-only conversations pa, which will be part of that episode that drops tomorrow on Spotify or your favorite other platforms. We'll talk about the 10th anniversary of the Bullet Club, which we celebrated yesterday, May 3, and the Strong Women's Championship in NJPW and the inaugural tournament to crown the very first champion. So yun ang mga pag-uusapan natin in the audio-only part of the podcast. But for now, let's get to some plugs. Chino, anything you want to plug?
Yes, I have 4 or 5 shows. 5 shows happening this May. Ang dami, hindi ko na maalala lahat. But all of them, you can see on my Instagram, and the tickets will be available at comedymanila.ph/shows. Please support local stand-up. Ang dami ng wrestling fans dyan. We live for the live audiences. We want to see you back in the seats, just like we want to see you back at the viewing parties. It's all fun and it's all very affordable. comedymanila.ph/shows.
All right. Ro.
I got a new project coming up, which I will reveal next week. But other than that, you guys can still support local wrestling. If you miss the fun show, which we mentioned at the top of the show, featuring Tajiri, Yappy, and your favorites, and Stan here, who made his comeback to the wrestling scene. All you gotta do, the episodes will start streaming on Gank next week. All you gotta do is to subscribe to the MWF Gank profile, ManilaWrestling.com. So the $10 or around 600 something pesos. You can pay via credit card, debit card, or even GCash. So there are so many different ways to pay if you missed the sold out show last Sunday. Naman. And follow us on TikTok at Wrestling2XPod.
And if any of you want to debate Emil here on where Dylan Brooks will end up, where can they find you, Emil?
All right, so you could find me on TikTok at @email_meister. I just post sports opinions there, especially now that the NBA playoffs is ongoing. And you can also follow me on Twitter and debate me there on Twitter.
Actually, people actually debating you?
May mga people who
okay.
no sa FB, mas sa FB mas
FB,
naghahanap ka ng away eh.
You really are my child.
Graduate na kami dyan. 10 years ago, we were there, Emil. It ages you real quick. All right. From my end, go check out On Deck with Stan C. I'm about to end season 5 in a few weeks, but I had an episode come out yesterday featuring Indy O'Connor, formerly of Mellow 94.7. She was also Samantha on the phone, for those of you who used to listen to Boys Night Out. And if you're old enough to remember Campus Radio, then you might remember Hot Mama Maria, their sexy traffic reporter. That's also Indy, so she opens up about that and about the retirement of the Mellow 94.7 air staff, something that I don't for quite a while. So she's very open about that, actually. And you'll get to hear the story over on that episode of the podcast. For everything else we do, you can hit us up individually at Chino Supersize, at Monday Night Rowan, at EML_Meister, at Roiswar, and at _Stan C. Thank you always to everyone who keeps on subscribing, sharing, streaming the show, letting people know that we exist. Thank you as well to Babyface producer Jasper and everyone at Podcast Network Asia for all of the work that they do behind the scenes to help support the podcast. We'll catch you again next week. Marami tayong episodes na i-record next week. Do we already want to plug the big guesting we nailed?
Pwede. Why not? Why the fuck not?
Yeah,
so he has a big week coming up next week. So that's
right. And part of that big week includes an appearance on the Wrestling podcast. Friend of the pod, Robbie Eagles, will be back on a special audio-only episode of the Wrestling podcast. Let us all pray to our favorite deities that Emil and Rowan do not cream their pants during the interview.
Let's go, Kuya Bert. Let's do it.
All right. We're going to get out of here, and we'll catch you again next week with the audio-onlys and the live streams, as always, Thursdays at 7 on Facebook and on YouTube. On behalf of Chino Liao, Emil ASH, and Romaran, my name is Stan C, saying stay safe, stay healthy, and don't be a dick. Wrestling podcast, out. Bye-bye.
Peace.